Hello. So I'm back, and I'm here to make an Imp3 guide because I've been having some kind of painful Imp3s lately, and I think this is a dungeon that is kind of easy to pick up initially, but there's a lot of like small things and like niche, like Warcraft 3 knowledge that people might not know that makes this dungeon a lot easier. And I've even played with people who have like multiple godlies and still don't fully understand all of the things that matter in this dungeon. So my hope is that this video is going to clear up a lot of the mystery and weirdness about this dungeon and just Warcraft 3 in general. So, Imp3. First things first, I didn't show it, but everyone will stand outside of Hell 2, and a healer will enter the dungeon and immediately pop their Gloria, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to get to the bottom right corner. All of the ranged and squishies are going to pile into the corner, and then all of the melee and tanks are going to form a wall around them, because in this entire arena, hounds, just like this little black hound here, this hellhound, are going to randomly spawn anywhere that they have space to spawn in. So we want to pack everyone into a tight little corner and then protect those people with like a wall of melee just to make sure that everyone's protected. So I'll play this right here just so you can see. So all the ranged are getting in. You'll notice that all of the melee and tanks are kind of giving them, you know, a chance to actually walk in, because you don't want to block the ranged from getting in. So all 5 of our ranged are in, which means that all of the melee can start collapsing and closing up and walling. So you'll notice I went top, and the other 3 people went left. So you're going to see me moving my camera here, and that's because one thing with walling is that you do not want to just directly hug one of the ranged, because one of the things is the hounds have a range, a melee range, that is just big enough that if you are directly hugging someone, they can actually attack over you and hit the person behind you. So what you're going to see here is I'm going to be moving my camera. Oh, weird. Hold on. So I'm adjusting my camera because I am trying to basically add a small little gap in between me and the ranged person so that the hounds cannot hit over me. This is, like I said, this is very important because if you're hugging the person too closely, the hound can actually melee over you and hit them. So I'm just fixing my position, and then I am holding. So your main goal, if you are playing melee, is you are walling for people. You are trying to make sure that the hounds are not going to run in and kill them. Because like I mentioned before, hounds can spawn anywhere that they have space for. So if you have too much space between you and ranged, a hound can spawn in between you and they will just turn around and start beating the shit out of you ranged. So you want a little bit of space in between you and them, but not too much. And this is going to be one of those things where you kind of just have to like learn it as you do the dungeon, because sometimes you're going to have groups with like 8 ranged and you just have to figure out the spot that fits the best. And sometimes you're going to have a group with like 5 melee. It's just, comp is always going to change. How people stand is always going to change. Like, this is kind of a thing that you kind of just have to like pick up and learn, but you kind of will understand like the rules as you do it more and more. So in this pre-phase, we have to defeat 66 hounds to summon the boss. So that's why we are just holding in place. One thing worth mentioning, if you are a melee that does not have evasion or is not very tanky, you are going to kind of be like the edges of the walls, because most hounds are going to attack the people in the middle. So unless you are like a tank, or you are a like pretty safe DPS with just like a lot of cleave, stick to the edges of the walls. You're going to survive a lot more. In fact, there isn't really a reason to have people in middle, because you'll notice over here in this left corner, there's these skulls here that provide collision, like terrain blocking. So these people don't actually have to be here. Like, Gray and I are walling off all of our ranged. Red and yellow are literally just here just to hit hounds. So as long as you have your 2 people on the edges, like, melee can be everywhere else. Yellow is our ball, and you'll notice that one thing with ball is you spend health on your abilities, and ball does not have evasion, so he is just constantly getting hit by hounds. And I think even on this attempt, he dies. So yeah, like I said, if you are a melee that does not have evasion, or you're not super tanky, like, try to stick to the edges of the walls because they are safer, and you're not going to get hit by hounds as often. Okay, so now we have our cutscene because the boss is spawning. Okay, so a key mechanic of this boss is that at the start of every phase, so 100%, 75, 50, 25, and 15, when you auto-attack him, he is going to pause in place, and he's going to have some red text underneath him. I forget what it is, but I'll point it out when I see it. And he'll start channeling a big AoE stomp that I think is like 550 range, so the only person who can, like, really outrange it is, like, Sniper, I think. And the goal is that we are trying to get him to stomp in a place that is not going to hit the entire arena. So you'll see at the start, he's right in the middle. Someone is going to auto-attack him, and that's his red text, prepare to burn in hell. He will not always play this text. Sometimes he will start his stomp and then not play the text, so you really have to be looking at him, and if he's just standing still not doing anything, he's winding up his stomp. So Red is our tank. What he's going to do is he's going to move up to the top left. He is going to taunt the boss, and he's going to drag him in the corner. Because taunt is going to interrupt the stomp. So he's getting pulled up there. And then when the boss is not red anymore, he's not taunted anymore, he wants to try stomping again, but like I mentioned, you have to, like, auto attack him or hit him with damage to kind of get him to stomp. Okay, so he's not moving. We've attacked him. He is about to stomp. So everyone is moving away. I should also mention the stomp is magic damage, and every phase it hits harder and harder. So I forget how hard it hits in these early phases, but I think, like, the 15 stomp hits for like 200k magic damage. Like, it's to the point where you basically have to be a tank or use Tainted Neptune to survive it if you're getting hit by it, but people usually nowadays just dodge every stomp. There's the stomp. Like I said, it's 550 range, so it's kind of like this. If you get hit by it, you take a bunch of magic damage and you get stunned. So now what we're doing is, after his stomp, what he will typically do is he will try to throw a fireball at the first person who hits him. It is usually a ranged that takes fireballs because they're going to be the first one to hit him, but it is not always the case. So actually, I'll just show it here. I think Monster Hunter hit, so the fireball is getting launched towards Hunter. Oh, no, it was Yellow. So Yellow hit first because I think his AoE hit the boss. But, so he'll always do the stomp and then fireball. And then one important thing, which you will probably learn in other dungeons, is that every time a boss gets stunned or casts a spell, they can change their aggro. So what melee should do here is that the boss is throwing a fireball. No melee should be hitting the boss. One way that you can avoid hitting the boss is you can spam move commands into the boss so that you can kind of block him in. Because, again, he is in a corner. So if you have one person here, you can kind of just stand here and block him in a corner. You are going to move command into the boss or just not hit the boss. And you are going to let the tank hit the boss first so that he can get aggro again. One thing that I see people kill, or the one thing that I always see melee die to, is they rush in after stomp and just start hitting the boss, and then after he throws fireball, he just starts hitting random people, because melee did not wait for the tank to get aggro. So melee need to move command into the boss to trap him in the corner, wait for aggro to go onto the tank, and then you hit. And this goes for any time the boss gets stunned, anytime he casts a spell. You move command into the boss, let him hit the tank first, and then you start hitting. Because if you don't do that, what ends up happening is that melee do this stupid dance where one melee gets aggro on the boss, runs back, boss starts hitting another melee, that melee runs back, boss starts hitting another melee, and it's because none of the melee want to stop hitting the boss, they just keep juggling aggro, which is wrong. You want to M into the boss or move away from the boss and let the tank get aggro before you start hitting. So the boss is hitting red, so we're all fine, we're just going to hit the boss. Okay, so phases. These happen at 75, 25, or 75, 50, 25, and 15. They will start with the boss saying one text. This is the sign that you need to run away. Typically, boss will always be top left corner, and safe corner will always be bottom right. However, sometimes the boss needs to be pulled into a different corner because of just reasons. And in that case, the safe corner for the group will always be the opposite corner from the boss. So if the boss is top right, safe corner is bottom left. So for us, boss is top left, so safe corner is bottom right. Anytime you see this first text, it is your sign to get to the safe corner. So all the ranged are going to pile in, and then all the melee are going to block them in. He is going to do a second text, which I'll actually show here. So he will do a second text, and then probably half a second to like a quarter to half a second later, he will do a phase damage. It kind of looks like Stomp, but he does like this like AoE around him that does true damage or pure damage, which is why you don't want to be near him. And he's going to summon a ton of hounds. Every phase he's going to summon more and more hounds. So I think in the first one it's like 20 hounds or something. But he summons more hounds, and I believe at some point they become tankier or hit harder, something like that. But basically every phase the hounds are going to be harder. So ranged are hiding in the corner, melee are protecting them. Second text. At this point, healers, you want to see the second text, wait a little bit, and then pop Gloria, because right after this, he does the phase damage and all the hounds spawn. So healers are using Gloria to make sure that people don't die to hounds, because hounds hit very hard. Typically, you will have two healers. One healer will Gloria 75 and 25, and the other healer will Gloria 50 and 15, which are the names of the phases, like 75%, 50%, 25%, 15%. So a healer pops Gloria, and the goal now is you want to kill all of the hounds before Gloria is over, because once Gloria falls off, the hounds are going to fucking destroy people. Like, easily the most important thing in this dungeon is hound damage. Your boss damage does not matter. If every DPS is alive, the boss will die. You do not have to worry about boss damage. You do not have to worry about wasting cooldowns on the boss. You do not worry about boss damage. If all the DPS are alive, the boss will die. What matters in this dungeon is killing hounds. Bring AoE stuff, bring cleave shit, save all your cooldowns for hounds. Do not waste shit on the boss because he will die. Anyway, you are trying to kill all of the hounds kind of before your Gloria / whatever else CC you have is over, because the hounds fucking destroy people, and even melee with evasion will get like 3 to 4 hits. Like, they will die in like 3 to 4 hits. So I'm going to play it. You'll notice the hound's dying. Gloria's probably gone. You'll see that people start taking damage. Another important thing. If you hit the boss, almost all of the hounds will probably re-aggro onto you, and that's just a Warcraft 3 thing where if you hit an enemy unit's hero, a lot of their non-hero units will kind of redirect their attention to you because you're hitting the hero. So first person to hit the boss is usually going to get all the hound aggro, so just be aware of that. Another thing, melee, if you see hounds that are running at range, you should try to intercept the hounds. You should be hitting them. You should be trying to protect your range. You do not have to stay at the wall, but you should try to make sure that you are hitting the hounds that are running to range, because range do not have evasion. They will die in like 2 hits. You can survive like 4 hits. So protect your range, make sure you're killing hounds. Another thing I forgot to mention, is at the start of Hound phase. Ooh, my music turned off. Hold on. At the start of Hound phase, the boss will throw a fireball, typically at the first person who hits a Hound. So you'll see that the boss is going to do an animation and throw a fireball all the way across the arena. It is almost always going to be aimed at the first person to hit a Hound. So just be aware of that. Like if you're the one who's constantly taking fireballs in this phase and you're like, why the fuck am I getting stunned so much? It's because you're the first person hitting a Hound. So he's throwing a fireball, it's flying all the way across. I think it hit someone with Hannah's. That's another thing to mention. Some casters will play with only Hannah's Legend as their like defensive item, which is fine because it will eat fireballs. However, Hannah's has a cooldown, and if you are not playing smart and you take fireballs too soon back to back, the second fireball will kill you. So while Hannah's is something that you can play with, I would not recommend it if you are not confident about whether or not you're going to get hit with a fireball. Just throw on Corrupted Crystal or Starlight Crystal, eat the 5% CDR loss, and I think it's like 950 yen. Just like eat the loss and give yourself a guaranteed way of surviving a fireball. When you're a little bit more confident in how fireballs work and you like can guarantee that you're not going to get hit by 2 fireballs too soon back to back, then I would recommend playing Hannah's. But just, kind of figure it out for yourself. Hannah's is like typically more greedy, and if you're not confident in fireballs and like the mechanics of them, you can die, and then if you die, now you're +1, you're going to make the run take longer, right? So just, if you're not confident, just run Corrupted Crystal, Starlight Crystal, it is absolutely fine. So, after Hound phase was over, the boss is trying to run at us, and when he gets hit by an auto attack, just like at the start, and when he gets hit by an auto attack, oh, it's hard to see, he stands still, and he has his little text, prepared, I forget what the prepared to something. That's a sign that he's stomping, so our tank is already moving top left. He taunts, he's pulling the boss into the corner. So, you might be wondering why I'm here. So, one thing that can happen is that sometimes coming out of taunt, the boss will fireball the tank, and he will not stomp, because like I mentioned, one of the things that gets him to stomp is that he needs to be auto-attacked, or he needs to be hit with an attack, and I believe the person who's hitting him has to be close enough to him for him to want to stomp. So I am here purely auto-attacking the boss, because if he fireballs the tank, then I am hitting the boss and I will proc his stomp. Because if no one is here to proc stomp, he'll fireball the tank, not want to do stomp, and then he'll walk out of the corner and walk at the group and wait for one of them to proc stomp. So I, as a melee, am here to make sure that stomp goes off even if the tank gets stunned. So he's doing his stun animation, and I think he actually didn't do the text here, like I was mentioning before. Yeah, sometimes he just doesn't do the text, so if he's standing still and not doing anything, you should assume that he's about to stomp. So we are moving away. He stomps, and we run back in. He fireballs, and you'll notice that I am spamming M into the boss because I do not want to attack him until the tank has aggro, but I am still here to block him into the corner. Tank has aggro, so we're fine. %, again, one text means go to the corner, second text, and then Hound spawn. You'll see Gloria happens. Gloria is gone, people are going to start getting hit by damage. I should have mentioned this earlier, but Gloria is not the only spell that needs to be used to survive Hound phase. Tanks, and basically anyone who can bring Blinding Light of Destiny, it is a godsend item for helping people survive. Blinding Light of Destiny is basically a fake Gloria. It blinds everything around you for like 2.5 seconds. How you use it is you will typically see someone pop Gloria, You'll count to 3 seconds, or like 2.5 if you want to be safe, and then you'll pop Blinding Light of Destiny to blind everything to kind of give everyone like an extended Gloria. If you are Annihilator, you can use Massacre. If you are GI, you can Repel. There's probably other ones that I'm forgetting, but basically, like, any AoE CC, you can kind of chain with Gloria to make this phase like a little bit safer for everyone. But I think in our group, all we have is Gloria, so Gloria and Blinding Light of Destiny. With Blinding Light of Destiny, I believe the cooldown makes it so that you can only use it every other phase, so it's kind of like healers, where you're either going to use it like 75-25 or 50-15. If you're like us, where like one of your healers is Prof and your other one is not a Prof, Prof has 4 seconds of glow and every other healer has 3 seconds. So, you know, in that situation, you might say, hey, I'm going to use my Blinding Light of Destiny with the healer that has less Gloria duration because they kind of need more help, right? So it's kind of something you kind of have to like feel out for yourself. But we finish up the hounds. Tank taunts the boss into a corner. Boss does his text and stands still. We run away, dodge stomp, and we run in. Fireball's Mystic, attacking the boss, so we get to attack him. $25, we get our 1 text. Then we get our 2nd text, and then we get hounds. Another kind of annoying thing with hounds is sometimes you're going to have groups like ours where not all the hounds are going to die before the boss tries stomping, and something that's really fucking annoying is that the tank is kind of forced to taunt to stop the boss from stomping, but there's still a hound up. So you'll notice that this hound is going to chase the tank and just block, like, is going to be like a movement blocker for the boss, and it's going to make it harder to get into the corner. DPS just need to try the best to kill the hounds, even if they're taunted, because they're just going to cause annoyances for the tank. So you'll see this hound is like blocking the boss from getting in there, it's blocking the tank, it's just causing all this chaos. So right here, the tank could not get the boss into the corner, so that means we can't really block him into a corner. And he was kind of forced to take the stomp because he couldn't get away. If you're going to take stomps, you should bring Tainted Neptune, because I believe the 25 and 15 stomps, I don't think you can live them without Tainted Neptune unless you are a tank. But anyway, so in situations like this, the boss is not in the corner, the tank is stunned, which usually means the boss is going to go fucking psycho. The way that this run gets saved is I, as a melee, am going to auto-attack the boss now because I'm going to get aggro, because our tank is stunned so he can't get aggro. So I'm going to attack the boss and basically tank him for a little bit while our tank gets unstunned. So I am taking damage. And after like a second or two, our tank should be unstunned. So after I attack for a little bit, I'm going to, I think, just run away, but I should be move commanding another boss to reset my aggro back onto the tank. Yep, now it's on the tank. One thing with the boss is that if he's not far enough into the corner, like I mentioned, his phase damage is pure. So if he's too close to the middle, you can get hit by his phase damage and just die at this point, which I think some people probably do, so I'll show it. So I think a yellow is close enough that he just dies to the phase damage here. Oh no, okay, he's barely out of range. One thing I forgot to mention is starting at 25%, the boss, whenever he lands an auto attack on someone, will drain all of their mana. So you'll notice that Ball has no mana, Rune Master has no mana. This is why you bring a mana bot, or Rune Masters can bring Esper's Ring. The tank needs to have mana to taunt, so going into this 15 phase, your mana bot needs to give mana to the tank, or if they're a Rune Master, they should be using Esper's Ring to give themselves mana so that they can taunt the boss for 15. I think our Rune Master does not have Esper's. He's getting mana from our mana bot. Oh, one thing I I should mention here, like I mentioned earlier, what procs the boss stomp is getting hit by, I believe it's auto attacks or things that act like auto attacks, or maybe it's just any damage that's within range. He is trying to stomp right now, and I believe it's because Monster Hunter glaives count as auto attacks, so a Monster Hunter glaive hit him and activated stomp. If this happens, it's fine. As long as he is far enough away that he's not going to hit anyone with stomp, you should just let it go off, and then you can just taunt the boss and fight him, which I think is what we do. You'll notice that Yellow moved a little close to the boss as he was doing the stomp. If he had just stayed where he was, he would have lived. So like if he had stayed here, he was fine, but he moved a little bit closer, and then he got hit by the stomp. So at this point, at 15, once the stomp has gone off, it does not really matter where you tank the boss because he can just die from this point. So our tank is going to, I believe, taunt him and just tank him in the middle. Or actually, I'm going to stalk the boss to keep him stunned so that we can clean up hounds. So the boss is stunned, hounds are getting cleaned up. Tank taunts. I'm auto-attacking the boss because the tank got stunned, and then I'm dropping aggro when the tank is unstunned. And then that is the rest of the dungeon. So yeah, I know it sounds like a lot, but like I mentioned, I think the overall idea of what's going on is very simple, right? You pull the boss to a corner. You pull the boss to a corner, you don't get hit by his stomp. You hide in the opposite corner. You pull him into the corner, let him stomp, dodge the stomp, push him to a phase, hide in the opposite corner. Hounds get summoned, kill all the hounds, and then rinse and repeat. Like I mentioned before, easily, most important part of this dungeon is killing fucking hounds in time. If hounds stay alive and you run out of CC, they are just going to eat through people. Like, even if you have like 80% evasion, you might get unlucky and you might not evade 4 attacks in a row and the hound just fucking eats you. That is just part of life in this dungeon, is you might just get unlucky and the hound might just fucking eat you. So it is very, very important. Everything you spend in this dungeon, whether it's your build, your cooldowns, whatever, it should go into hounds. Hounds are way more important than the boss. If all of the DPS are alive, the boss will die. And like I mentioned before, very important thing for melee. If the boss is not auto-attacking the tank, you should be spamming move commands into the boss until he is. That is probably one of the things that kills melee a lot, is melee just brainlessly auto-attacking the boss instead of dropping aggro and letting the tank get aggro. But I'll just let this run play out just to kind of show you the full run. Killing hounds, tank taunts the boss into the corner. I'm auto-attacking to make sure stomp goes off, I'm dodging. I'm emming into the boss, waiting for the tank to get aggro, tank has aggro, now I'm hitting the boss. First text, running to the corner. Second text, Gloria, hounds. You just saw Blood go off, blinding all the hounds. Boss is trying to stomp. Tank will taunt. Hound is being annoying and kind of not letting the boss get in the corner. Stomp happens. I hit the boss so that he doesn't go crazy on other people. And then I drop aggro so he hits the tank. Last phase, we all hide in the corner. Mana bot gives mana to the tank so that he can taunt. Stomp gets activated by Monster Hunter glaives. I stalk the boss to keep him stunned, and then tank taunts the boss. And then we just kill him. Like I said before, like, if people are alive, the boss will die. You do not worry about boss DPS. If enough people are alive, he will die. You do not have to waste shit on him. But that's the dungeon. Other random things I missed. Melee absolutely wants Starlight Crystal because the boss has Immolation Aura, and if you get unlucky, and the boss throws a fireball at you and you're low from Immolation Aura, you will die. I think like 50k health with Starlight Crystal is usually safe. What else? What else? What else? I think that's everything. I'm sure there's like stuff I'm missing, but I think I covered the key parts. Is like, don't run Hannahs unless you're confident about fireballs. Fireballs typically will get thrown at the first person who hits the boss or hits a hounds after he's done being stunned or whatever. Starting at 25%, the boss auto attacks will drain mana. Hounds are the most important thing. Yeah. Hopefully this made this dungeon a little bit like easier to understand what's going on. Like I said, I know it's a lot. There's a lot of small things that kind of add up to making this dungeon easier or harder. And you could run, you could get like multiple godlies and not even know all of them. Like I said, I have played with people who have multiple godlies that don't know how to drop aggros melee, aren't super confident walling. Like, you are going to spend a while learning all the small parts of this dungeon. So hopefully this kind of brought to light some of the things that you might not know and makes your time a little bit easier. Hope this helped. Imp1 guide sometime, maybe, I don't know.